Before we dive into all of this, and there is genuinely a lot going on today, folks, do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button right now. This channel is your daily home for Blue Jays content with us. You are absolute beasts of support, and it means everything. Now let's get into it, because this is one of those episodes where you're going to need to buckle up, because we have a sneaky great trade that almost nobody is talking about, a manager who is officially done sugarcoating things, a young man making his big league debut today on Easter Sunday, a backup catcher in tears after the most brutal two-day stretch of his professional life, and a veteran pitcher who just put on a clinic at the minor league level that should have every Blue Jays fan buzzing. There is a lot to unpack here, so let's go. Let's start with the move that flew completely under the radar this weekend, because amid all the chaos, the Brendan Little disaster, the Alejandro Kirk injury, the back-to-back losses to a White Sox team that, quite frankly, the Blue Jays should be beating in their sleep, the front office quietly pulled off one of the better low-cost acquisitions you will see this early in a season. The Blue Jays have acquired infielder Tyler Fitzgerald from the San Francisco Giants, and the price they paid for him? Cash considerations. As in, essentially nothing. As in, they opened the bargain bin, found a name with real upside, and scooped him up while nobody was watching. Now let's talk about who Tyler Fitzgerald actually is, because if you're not familiar with him, you should be. Fitzgerald had what looked like a genuine breakout season in 2024 when he hit .280 with an .831 OPS over 341 plate appearances, added 15 home runs, stole 17 bases in 21 attempts, and finished the year with a 132 WRC+ and 3.0 wins above replacement. That is not a depth piece number. That is a starter quality number. The guy was putting up legitimate production for the Giants, and teams around the league were taking notice. So what happened? Why is he available for loose change in April 2026? A couple of things, honestly. The key statistic from that 2024 breakout was Fitzgerald's .380 batting average on balls in play, which suggests some luck contributed to his numbers. Reality appeared to set in last season, as his BOBIP fell to a more standard mark and his offensive production dropped significantly. And then the Giants went out and signed Luis Arraez in the offseason, which assured that Fitzgerald would be a bench option at best in San Francisco. He opened 2026 at AAA Sacramento, couldn't find his footing at the plate there either, and the Giants made the decision to designate him for assignment. That's when the Blue Jays pounced. The big majority of Fitzgerald's MLB playing time has come at shortstop, but he has seen time at every position on the diamond except catcher, making him a useful depth option for a Blue Jays club that doesn't really have a true backup infielder on their current 26-man roster. And that is really the heart of why this move makes so much sense right now. After Leo Jimenez was traded to the Marlins, the Jays were thin up the middle. Fitzgerald had a career-best season in 2024, recording 15 home runs and 17 stolen bases in 96 games while carrying an .831 OPS. He's just 28 years old. He has options remaining, meaning the Blue Jays can shuttle him between AAA Buffalo and the big league club as needed. He has speed. He has pop. He has over 178 games of major league experience under his belt. And the Blue Jays gave up nothing, not a prospect, not a player to be named later, not a single arm or bat from their system. Just cash. He's now in Buffalo getting his legs under him, and when the call comes, this team has another legitimate option to reach for. In July 2024, Fitzgerald hit 5 home runs in 5 straight games and 7 homers in 8 games, becoming the first Giant to do either since Barry Bonds in 2004. Read that again. Since Barry Bonds. That kind of hot streak doesn't happen by accident. The talent is in there. Whether Toronto can coax it back out of him is the question, but here's the thing, you gave up nothing to find out. That is the definition of a zero-risk, high-upside move, and in a season where this team has been bleeding injuries and desperately needs depth everywhere, this is exactly the kind of quiet, smart acquisition that front offices get credit for in October when it turns out to matter. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or more accurately, the elephant that is no longer in the room, because Brendan Little is officially gone. We covered his outing and the writing on the wall in yesterday's video, but in case you missed it, The Blue Jays officially optioned Little to AAA Buffalo following another disastrous performance. In 5 games this season, he went 0-2 with a 24.55 ERA across 3 2/3 innings, allowing 10 earned runs. That number is so ugly it almost looks like a typo. It is not a typo. And John Schneider, to his credit, did not hide behind vague baseball manager speak this time around. He spoke directly and plainly after the team's latest loss, and he put the entire roster on notice. He made it crystal clear that every single game in the American League East matters, that the standard of play he expects has not been met, and that if players are not performing, there will be someone else ready to step in and take that opportunity. That is a manager speaking with urgency. That is a manager who knows the margin for error in this division is razor thin, and who is not going to pretend that early April losses don't count. They count. Every single one of them counts. He specifically addressed Little and essentially confirmed that the internal conversations had been happening, that the team was going to evaluate every possible way to improve, and that the result of those conversations was the option to Buffalo. After Saturday's loss, Schneider kept returning to the same phrase, "We've got to figure it out. We're going to try to put the best team out there every single day, so we'll definitely sit down and talk about it." And they talked about it. And then they acted on it. That is how you handle a problem when it becomes undeniable. Now let's talk about Tyler Heineman, because this one genuinely tugged at some heartstrings, even for the fans who were frustrated with him. Look, facts are facts. Heineman has had 2 of the most brutal back-to-back games of his career. The errant throw that allowed the tying run to score on Friday, the base-running mistake on Saturday, the overall chaos behind the plate while being thrown cold into high-leverage situations. It was rough. It was genuinely painful to watch. And the moment fans were rightfully venting online, Heineman walked to the podium and took every single bit of it on his own shoulders. He said plainly, without deflection and without excuses, that the last 2 losses were on him. He told reporters to sugarcoat it any way they want, but the reality was that those games were his fault, and he was owning it completely. And then, and this is the detail that got to people, he was in tears. A grown man, a seasoned Major League veteran with years of service time, sitting in that post-game room with tears in his eyes because he cares that much. You cannot be angry at that. You can be frustrated with the results, but you cannot be angry at a man who holds himself that accountable. It's also worth noting that the clubhouse has apparently been dealing with a stomach bug going around, which is why Eric Lauer's start was pushed back a day. These guys are human beings playing through physical discomfort on top of an already turbulent week. And sometimes things go sideways in the worst possible way at the worst possible time. That's baseball. And Heineman, for everything that happened this weekend, was one of the best backup catchers in all of baseball last season. He slashed .289/.361/.416 with 3 home runs and 20 RBI across 61 games last year, and defensively he ranked in the top tier of backstops around the league. He will bounce back. Give the man a minute to breathe. Which brings us to the person who is not being given a minute to breathe, because today is his day whether he's ready for it or not. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Valenzuela is making his Major League Baseball debut right now on Easter Sunday, and the story of how we got here is actually a testament to how well-run this organization has been even in the middle of all this chaos. On July 31, 2025, the Padres traded Valenzuela to the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for Will Wagner. At the time, fans were happy about the trade but probably didn't think they'd be calling on him quite this fast. Now here we are, April 5, 2026, and the 25-year-old from Hermosillo, Sonora is catching his first Major League game. Valenzuela will become the 153rd Mexican player in MLB history and the 11th player from Hermosillo to reach the big leagues. That is a genuinely emotional milestone. And it is happening because this front office had the foresight to go get this kid last July when they went all in on the World Series run. They traded for a catcher as a backup plan, and now that backup plan is getting a chance to write a story of his own. Valenzuela participated in Major League spring training this year and performed admirably, batting .304 with a .478 slugging percentage and a home run in 27 plate appearances. The skills are there. The tools are real. While Heineman brings veteran stability, Valenzuela offers a different profile as a younger catcher with more power potential and long-term value as part of the Blue Jays' future. He is being thrown into the deep end on Easter Sunday in Chicago with all of this noise swirling around the team. And honestly, that might be exactly what this fanbase needs. A fresh face. A new story. A young man from Mexico making his big league debut and trying to keep a pitching staff together while the regular catcher recovers from a broken thumb. If Valenzuela goes out there and handles his business today, it will be one of those moments people talk about for a long time. And now, let's talk about the Patrick Corbin news, because this is genuinely more encouraging than people initially expected. When the Blue Jays signed the veteran left-hander to a one-year deal and sent him to Single-A Dunedin to get built up, the reaction was mixed. Corbin is 36 years old, is coming off a season with the Texas Rangers where he posted a 4.40 ERA in 155 1/3 innings, and missed spring training entirely with this organization. MLB trade rumors. https://www.mlbtraderumors.com/2026/04/blue-jays-sign-patrick-corbin.html. He is not the Patrick Corbin of 2019 who was throwing 13 strikeouts per 9 innings in the World Series playoffs. Nobody is pretending otherwise. But here's what happened on Saturday in Dunedin, and please pay attention to these numbers because they are genuinely impressive. 5 innings pitched, 0 runs allowed. For hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. 9. That is not a warm-up outing. That is not a guy who is just trying to get his legs under him. That is a veteran left-hander who still has the ability to put together a masterclass performance when he's locked in, and that is exactly what this injury-ravaged pitching staff needs right now. The broader context here is staggering when you lay it all out. Toronto has been without Shane Bieber with elbow trouble, Trey Yesevich with a shoulder impingement, Jose Barrios with elbow inflammation, and Cody Ponce, who suffered an ACL sprain. The score: https://www.thescore.com/news/3514184. That is 4 starting pitchers on the injured list before the season is barely 2 weeks old. The current rotation has been held together by Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease, Eric Lauer, and Max Scherzer, all of whom have pitched well, but you cannot run a 4-man rotation in a 162-game season. You simply cannot. Corbin is the emergency reinforcement, and right now he is looking less like a desperate move and more like a calculated one. He has been working out while unsigned and had gotten himself up to 80 pitches before joining the organization. After Saturday's 74-pitch outing, he is close to being fully stretched out. MLB trade rumors. https://www.mlbtraderumors.com/2026/04/blue-jays-sign-patrick-corbin.html. The math here is becoming clear. Another start, maybe 2, and Patrick Corbin could be on a plane to wherever the Blue Jays are playing and taking the ball every 5 days. He is a workhorse who has averaged over 157 innings per season across his career, excluding the shortened 2020 campaign, and he has made at least 30 starts every year since 2017. The score: https://www.thescore.com/news/3514184. This is a man who knows how to pitch. He knows how to eat innings. And right now, innings are the most precious commodity in the Blue Jays organization. Is he going to be an ace? Is he going to carry this team to a championship? Nobody is saying that. But can he give you 5 to 6 innings of decent, competitive baseball every 5th day and allow the bullpen to catch its breath while the cavalry returns from the injured list? Based on Saturday's outing, the answer looks like a very encouraging yes. Keegan Matheson of MLB put it perfectly when he said this was an encouraging start from Corbin and that there was no real reason for the Blue Jays to slow play his arrival if he was already built up. That's right. The team signed him specifically to have him ready quickly, and he appears to be delivering on that expectation ahead of schedule. So let's take a step back and look at where this team actually is, because it is easy to get lost in the noise of a rough week and forget the big picture. The Blue Jays are a World Series team. They have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who just hit his first home run of the season and looked like the most dangerous hitter on the planet in that moment. They have Kevin Gausman and Dylan Cease and Max Scherzer anchoring a rotation. They have a bullpen that, outside of Brendan Little, has actually been solid. Fisher, Rogers, Hoffman, and Tommy Nance have been giving this team genuine quality innings. The problem has been specific and largely correctable, and the front office has shown this week that they are not going to sit on their hands and wait for things to fix themselves. They traded for Tyler Fitzgerald at zero cost. They optioned Brendan Little before the problem became a season-defining crisis. They brought in Joe Mantiply and Austin Voth to stabilize the bullpen. They signed Patrick Corbin, and now he is pitching like a man with something to prove. They acquired Brandon Valenzuela last July at the deadline because they were thinking ahead, and now that move is paying off in the form of a rookie making his big league debut today. These are not the moves of a panicking organization. These are the moves of a team that knows what it is, knows what it wants, and is doing the work to make sure a rough first 2 weeks does not define a 162-game season. Now, will there be more turbulence ahead? Almost certainly. This is the American League East. The Yankees are going to push. The Orioles are going to push. The Red Sox are never going to go away quietly. Every series matters. Every single game is a potential swing in the standings. But this Blue Jays team has the talent, the depth, and apparently the organizational discipline to navigate adversity when it comes knocking, and this week, it came knocking loud. Today's debut for Brandon Valenzuela. Tyler Fitzgerald waiting in Buffalo ready to contribute. Patrick Corbin closing in on his first start in a Blue Jays uniform. And Brendan Little in AAA with a chance to rediscover himself before this season really gets going. There is a lot of story left to write here, folks. A whole lot of story. Drop a comment right now and let me know what you think. Are you buying the Tyler Fitzgerald move? Do you think Corbin is actually going to make a real difference in this rotation? And how are you feeling about Brandon Valenzuela getting his shot today on Easter Sunday? Leave it all in the comments. This community has the best takes in Blue Jays Nation, and I genuinely want to hear where your head is at. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now and never miss a single video. Smash the like button if this video gave you the Blue Jays coverage you came here for. We have a lot more coming, and folks, we are just getting started. Let's go Blue Jays.